Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Put a Fork in It podcast, the podcast delivering fresh perspectives at the intersection of food, health, business, and creativity. I'm your host, Kaylina Cahill, founder and creative director for CC Photo and Media, a Hudson Valley, New York-based photocentric marketing company. I'm so excited to share this, our 11th episode, to celebrate our first birthday. Last year, I took a leap. I started this show and didn't know where it would end up. I had been thinking about starting a podcast for about 9 months to a year, and then, one day, I decided that in lieu of writing a blog post about how to succeed at the Taste of New Paltz, why not just interview Kathy Prizia, Executive Director of the New Paltz Chamber, since she runs it, and thus, Put a Fork in It was born. We've grown a lot since then, and now we have a dedicated brand, social media accounts, a YouTube channel, and we will soon have our own theme music. I'm excited to share that in our second year, we will be upping our game and plan to release 2 episodes per month. So exciting. And now, today's guest is Bianca Hendricks, owner of RSVP by B, an event planning company focused mainly around weddings. Bianca, a mother and entrepreneur, has over 10 years' experience working in hospitality management and events. She studied hotel, restaurant, and institutional management at Penn State and worked in various roles in hotels, restaurants, and catering. Born in Pittsburgh, she lived here in the Poughkeepsie, New York area for most of her life. Now, as she raises her family here, she is involved in projects geared towards revitalizing the city of Poughkeepsie. During our show, we talk about her background, starting a business, balancing life as a mom and entrepreneur, and her work on Poughkeepsie First Fridays, the first of which is coming up on August 4th in Poughkeepsie. It really does sound like an awesome event, and I definitely plan to go. I'm excited to share this interview with you, and I hope you'll be as inspired as I was and find some useful and tactical information that you can put into practice. And now, enjoy the show. So thanks, Bianca, for being on the podcast today.
Thank you.
Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself for the audience?
My name is Bianca Hendricks. I am the owner of RSVP by B. I focus majority of my event planning on weddings, but I do a good portion of community events as well. I've been doing this for myself for 5 years now. Before then, I went to school at Penn State, got a degree in hospitality, and worked in restaurants and hotels from New York to Hawaii. So I decided one day I was going to do it for myself, and here I am.
So what made you decide to go into hospitality?
I've always worked in it. It was my first job in high school. I worked at Marist College in their food service department, and I moved into their catering, and I just fell in love with hospitality and events and making things just happen, and the customer service aspect of it. It's just always, I've been always in that food aspect of it.
What makes you love it?
I like how it's different. I mean, wherever I've worked in a hotel, a restaurant, dining service, like everything's always different. There was always that common goal that people need to eat. And then when it came into events, it was always, everyone was always getting married or having a party or in those kind of aspects. So it was just the fast pace, the different cuisines that you can have, it was just something that I took to and I liked, and it was just I followed my passion with it.
So I heard that you went to school for hospitality management and hotels. I'm not really entirely sure what that entails. So
the actual program was hotel, restaurant, institutional management. So it focused on restaurants, hotels, and any institutions like schools or hospitals, food service wise. So the program was, you got a very 50-50 class structure of basically hotels and restaurants of things. So one class that we did was a 8-hour class, but you turned your class into a fine dining restaurant. You picked a theme, you were on a team, that was your management team, and the rest of your class were your employees for the restaurants. And you spent all semester building up this class, and then you would actually have a mock dinner. And then you would get your critiques back from it, and you would redo it again based on the criticism of you getting the public to come to your class for dinner. So there was a lot of hands-on experience, which I absolutely loved, like that class. They had similar ones for hotels. And then you were able to join conferences and clubs and stuff that focused around like club management, like if you're going to do a casino or catering aspects and stuff. So it was just a very well-rounded of the hospitality industry. And then they had I want to say 95 placement after you graduated, you would get a job. We had a lot of the major corporations come and do on-site interviews for you. So you were at least leaving college with a full-time job, with the career that you wanted to do, which was great. From there, I did my MIT with Red Lobster.
What is the MIT?
Manager in training.
Oh.
So I was a manager for Red Lobster, and I did the corporate thing for a little while. From there, I went to a bed and breakfast. I worked for a hotel, and then I kind of went back to the restaurant scene. Hotels weren't my scene, really. They were a slower pace. You get to stay longer. I liked the difference of restaurants and stuff. And then it was just one day I was just like, I'm done. I don't want to do the 60-hour weeks. I like every position I ever held. I still did something of event planning, whether if it was booking a party in a restaurant or doing an activity at the hotel. It was always that focus, and that's what I loved. I loved the creating an event for somebody or creating an experience. So I told my fiance at the time, I was like, I'm going to do this for myself. I'm going into business for myself. And he was like, go for it. And I haven't looked back.
Tell me about that experience when you were finally like, okay, I want to go on my own. How was that for you?
Scary. I know, you have the training and tools that you've done, but to say and to carry that confidence in yourself and saying I can make this happen, I went while doing this, I went back to waitressing just to make sure I had an income, because you didn't always, starting out, you don't make money.
Oh boy, do I know that.
So it was, but I was making the same money as I was doing part-time waitressing as I was doing my full-time manager. So I was able to have that time and flexibility to really concentrate on the business. It was joining the chambers and like-minded other community groups like the wedding vendors of the Hudson Valley, just getting yourself out there and meeting people and then making those connections so someone would book you, and it happened. I was referred by a photographer. I did my first wedding, and, I think all went well. It's just, it's finding those, every wedding, every event has a hiccup in the back, the back eye. It's just how you handle it and how you fix it so your clients don't affect it or their guests don't are affected by what's going on, and if even today, there's always a learning experience to it, so that's what I love about it is because you're always learning something new or a way to make it better. Working with different people, the technology today is 10 times better than it was 5 years ago, so it's a whirlwind of excitement.
Mm-hmm. So I bet that having had the training in school with hotel management and all of that stuff, and then you mentioned Duchess for business or something?
Yeah.
So you had some experience in the business side of things.
Yes. Yeah, I think school-wise and what you learn in the books, you only learn so much, and then you just have to apply to real life and actually really learn hands-on. At least for me personally, I learned better hands-on and actually doing something versus me sitting there reading a textbook. Mm-hmm. I was never one to enjoy going to school or so even finding the major, that was so interactive made school more enjoyable, I think, for me, in that aspect.
How helpful was that, though, having that kind of foundation from school when you started your business? Because I know for me, I didn't have any business foundation when I started my business. So.
I think it definitely absolutely helped, just having it, even if you go back and you're like, wait a minute, the P&Ls or those type of things, you're just it comes back to you. I think it really does. It's, you may not apply it exactly, but having those steps to utilize as a core or foundation definitely helps. Absolutely. I couldn't imagine me doing this now if I didn't even go to school. You know what I mean? I don't know what I would be doing or where I would be kind of thing.
Yeah. So you said you've had the business for about 5 years now?
Yes. It's my 5th season.
So how has it been going?
Great. Each year gets better. I want to say my first year I probably did 2 weddings. The following 2 years I did probably 6 or 8 each. But I also at those times got married myself. I was in a wedding. I had a baby. So having your own business, you're able to have the flexibility of what you want to get out of your business too. It's what you put in is what you get out of it, kind of thing. So I've had that. But since then, I've been going full force, even more so. And like, I did 12 weddings last year. I have 15 on the books for this year. As well as like last year, I've done a few bridal shows and community events. So even getting my name out in the public just as the general community has increased. Now I am the event planner for First Fridays in Poughkeepsie. And that's a monthly event. So now I have 12 events a year just for First Friday Poughkeepsie. You know, so that's huge. I mean, just like I like tripled the amount of events in total that I've been doing in 2 years.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a lot. It's exciting. Sometimes I don't know if I'm coming or going. But I try to write everything down, and I use my phone calendar to know when I need to be in appointments. And, you know, I think it's just going back and taking that step back and breathing and saying, I got this, and I know I can do a damn good job. And it's just keeping in line, you know, but also building a team or a committee and putting that trust and being able to delegate properly and trusting that you have a solid team behind you as well, and that support system. I think I wouldn't be able to do it if I didn't have that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so having that, regardless if it's professional committees and support or a family, like I have both, and it's huge, and it helps so much.
So do you have a team that you work with, like employees or anything?
I do. So I have one employee full-time with me. And then I have a couple part-times, and over the course of the year, depending of like their life schedules and what they've been doing with their life, they've all been the same for the past couple of years, but they may have switched if they were working with me full-time or part-time kind of thing. But Jane is my assistant right now, and she's been with this is her second season with me, and she's fabulous, and we are like my yin and yang, you know. I say make it happen, and she makes it happen. It's like my funny tagline, you know. She's like, I just make it happen for Bianca. She goes, make it work, and then that's what I do. So no, that Jane's awesome, but then I do have some part-time associates I can call if I ever need a jam or I need more assistance. So it's great. They all have that event planning experience as well too, or at least customer service. Because I think, you know, it doesn't matter that you have the actual skills of event planning or tasks, but I think it's customer service and being personable. And, you know, if I can delegate and give you instructions properly, like, you can do it. You know, it's just following instruction, you know, that kind of thing.
So it sounds like pretty early on in your business you added people into your team. Yeah,
I want to say probably the second year. And I think it was just, part of me was like just making sure I always had somebody there when I had an event to have a backup person, because if I knew I could get pulled in a different direction, that something needed to be taken care of, or if I had to be with a client and something else to be done, I wasn't leaving. I could have that person just to delegate to. And sometimes they might just be to like, does that make sense? You know, is my thought process right? And it's because sometimes you don't always answer yourself, you know?
Yeah.
But it's knowing that I need the support and the help, you know, and to make it successful. And I'm just like, I'm going to bring somebody on. Regardless if I maybe really didn't need an extra person, I think it's important to have that extra person, because you never know when you're going to need that extra help, you know. And I think always two heads are better than one.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
So how'd you go about finding your employees or your first one, or how did that work for you?
My first one was Heather. And we're still really good friends today, and she just occasionally helps me out. I was actually her manager at a local restaurant. And she was like a trainer at the restaurant. They had some type of program where you go out to help like find communities to come do like like fundraisers at your restaurant. And she was kind of in charge of that. The GM put in charge of her. So she already had that aspect of planning and networking. And I was like, hey, do you want to help me out? And I was like, okay. And it just kind of like the next one, I was like, hey, you want to help me out? And that's kind of how it started. It was big, but knowing how I already worked with her at the restaurant as an employee, I knew she would be a reliable person. And those are kind of qualities that like, hey, we got along. She's reliable. She's trustworthy. And I know from her past experience that she could help and stuff.
Yeah, I kind of had a similar experience. I don't have anyone full-time or even part-time, but I do have people like on call for different kinds of things.
Sure.
And like I worked part-time in Barnes and Noble for a while.
Okay.
And like, so some of the people on my on-call list are like former coworkers.
Yeah.
It's like, I wasn't their manager, but like I know from working with them what their work ethic is.
Well, and I think that's huge. You know how they work, you know how they operate, you know what tasks you could give to them or not give to them. And I think just knowing that, having that personal relationship versus just going like applying and saying like, hey, because I've done that too. I've made a post on Facebook and said, we're hiring, send me whatever. And I've gotten some leads. And I remember one time I got someone sent me and said like, I'm interested in a job, but she didn't like include a resume. And I'm just like,
I know, I have that too. And I'm like,
okay, well, no, because you wouldn't do that for an actual brick and mortar position, at a restaurant or at any corporation kind of thing. So why would you do that for a small business?
Yeah.
So that was a huge turnoff. So I'm just like, what's with people? Just because it's on social media doesn't mean
I totally
you
agree.
have to be so informal, I guess. Like I didn't expect, a cover letter and a resume, but give me something more than just, hey, I'm interested kind of thing.
Right.
But I think finding utilizing social media in that aspect was great to kind of weed people up, because you can kind of see like employers go on social media to find out your true person of like what you're posting, and that could be beneficial or could hurt you. But I think having those relationships on social media with people already can help, and you can kind of fine tune, is that the right person for me? Is that the right look? Will she represent my brand appropriately? Because that's ultimately I have to go back and I'm like, if I send her out to go through and she's representing me, will I get positive feedback or those kind of things, because it is my brand.
Right, for sure. So I don't know much about event planning. What's involved in event planning? And I mean, when you're saying like 12 weddings in a year, like how does that look like work-wise?
Each one's different. And depending on when they hire me. So I primarily focus on wedding day management, which is is known as like day of coordinator. So I don't do a lot of full service weddings. Like from the start to finish, they get engaged, they book a wedding planner, and I go through every meeting with them. Like I don't do a lot of that. I probably do maybe like one a year of those, like a full service, because that is actually very time consuming and the most costly, because I'm actually they're paying me a percentage of their budget, their overall budget, and the budget of course has to be high enough for me to say like I could take on a full service job and worth my time. So I primarily do day of. So I have couples who have hired me a year and a half in advance, up to 3 months before their wedding. So each one's a little different depending on where they are in their planning process. But I normally do like initial consultation. I'll try to, at least if it's not over the phone, definitely a face-to-face. And then find out where they are, where they're in the planning process. I have a master checklist I use for myself. And did you hire this? Did you go through that? Does this apply to you? Because every wedding is different, but there are the fundamentals that you need to say, like you need a DJ, you need a caterer, you need a venue, your date, your colors, those kind of things. And just fine tuning all of those with them. So if they hire me 6 months out and they're like, hey, I still need a DJ, I have no problem giving them a recommendation of a DJ, because I know who works well, and I know coming in, I have a little more control over it, or influence, at least, not control, maybe more of an influence, and I know who I work well with and who will put out an awesome job. Whereas if they hire me 3 months and they probably have everybody, I have no control on anything or any influence of it, but I make it happen. I say, okay, I'm going to reach out to these vendors and I'm going to put a timeline together. We're going to meet, we're going to talk, I'm going to run through the day, and then we'll execute a rehearsal and then do the whole wedding day and make their vision come to life. And that's what I do. So it just really depends. Each wedding is different depending on where they are in their planning process.
And so how is that different from, say, community events or corporate events?
They're different because normally with community events, like considered like the first Friday, there's a committee, and everybody has a voice and an opinion, or like your sponsors, because you're allocating their dollars on where they kind of go. So, it's not just working with maybe the bride and groom or the bride and groom and its mother. I might have 6 people I'm answering to and 6 different opinions. And so it's very different in that aspect of how it's handled initially. But I think at the end, it's kind of the same. You're running the show. You're delegating. you're making it happen their way kind of thing. So it just really depending on like, I guess dollars, you know, sometimes corporate events or community events, there might not be a budget. So then we're picking up sponsors or we're getting things maybe donated, you know, so organizing those type of things of like saying, we have to make this happen, but we have $0. How are we going to make it happen kind of thing. So that's
how are we going to make the impossible possible?
This happen? But you know, it really just depends. Each, you know, corporate and those community ones are definitely for the community. So there's a bigger audience and a bigger target that you're reaching and branding to. Whereas the bride and groom, it's who you're catering to, and there are 100 guests, you know, kind of thing. So it's two totally different scales, two totally different elements. Similar thought process though, you know, which I like because both are so different, you know. My weddings are my babies, and that's just one thing I've always just loved because I want to turn this magical room into something elegant. And each bride's different, you know, and each vision's different. I've been to the same venue up in High Falls, Crescent Hen Farm. I did one last year. I've done one this year. I have two more coming up this fall, and then I have two more already for next year scheduled. It's like one of my favorite venues because it's just this beautiful barn and this property that every wedding I've done or working on right now is totally different than the next. And it's so cool to have like that canvas and it be so different for each bride, you know. I mean, yes, it's a barn and it's a farm wedding and it's the same tables and chairs, but it's the personality that comes through that is what I love and making it shine. It's like my favorite moment is when the bride sees the room and she's like, "Oh my God, this is my vision. This is what I wanted." You know, it's you know, it's just as great as them telling each other their vows. It just means so much, you know.
That's awesome. So I know when we spoke earlier, you mentioned that you had planned the Taste of Arlington.
Yes.
Yeah. So why don't you tell me about that? What was that event?
So I was approached, Michelle Barone, gave me a recommendation to the Arlington Business Improvement District. It was back when she was still doing Think Social First, and I believe she was doing the bids social media. And they said, "Hey, we're looking to do a Taste of Arlington. Who do you recommend?" And I was referred. So the process started last year. And then budget reasons with the bid, we planned to have it for this past June. So we just had this past June. But basically, it was 32 restaurants in the bid, and we got about half of them to participate. We put up a big tent on the Vassar alumni lawn. It was a sampling event. The vendors came out. They provided 2 to 3 samples. Our attendees paid like $20, $25, depending on when they got their ticket. And they came and they were able to sample all the restaurants and then to vote for like the most creative, best in Arlington, best presentation. We had a live music. We had a face painter and a bounce house for kids, so it was definitely family focused. It was, for their first year, it was a great, successful event. And they invited me back next year to do it again. We're going to change things up a little bit, so you'll have to stay tuned for details for that. But it was an honor to be invited back for it. You know, it was something totally different. I've made a lot of connections in the community, just in the Poughkeepsie, Arlington business district there. And it was so great just to see so many diverse cuisines come to life and have the public learn about it and know about it, you know. Which was great.
And you're also involved in the Poughkeepsie First Fridays?
Yes. So I was approached, my name I think was thrown out there by who, and you know, and I was approached to they put an RFP out and they wanted a proposal from me. And I guess they reached out to a few other event planners, and I put this proposal together for what I thought First Friday was or what it could be. They loved it. The mayor loved it. The chambers loved it. They came back and were like, "All right, we're hired. We just needed to get some sponsors." So we spent the past 6 weeks afterwards. They found this 3 sponsors, which is Rhinebeck Bank, Baxter, and LCS Companies. And the 3 of them were able to work together. And then we got like iHeart Media involved, the Poughkeepsie Journal involved. So we have a lot of media presence too as a community that want to help revitalize the city of Poughkeepsie through art, music, and dining. So it's a community effort. Mayor Rolson and his wife Lori started First Friday last year. And it was just the two of them with his assistant, Kelsey. And it was successful, but I think it's a lot. I mean, it takes a lot of work, and they're just so busy as it is. And I think that's where the whole shift came, of saying, like, you need to hire an event planner to kind of take over. And that's where it all started, this past March kind of thing. Since doing that, our first kickoff will be with a rebranded. We did a brand new logo. We have the sponsors now, like I mentioned. Our kickoff for everything is August 4th, next Friday. Since then, we've put together a committee of a team. So I have an entertainment committee, a music, marketing committee, and then just an overall general committee. And these committee members are fabulous. I don't know if we would have been able to pull this off without them. They've just, like I said, it was hard to kind of delegate certain things or trust the kind of thing, but it's a learning process to learn how everybody works too. And I think a lot of us knew each other through other people, but never like personally, or at least for me, I didn't know a lot of the people, but they are an amazing individuals, and we wouldn't be able to do this without them. Absolutely.
So when did the committee form?
I want to say about 6 weeks ago. It was in the process of, I was notified of that we're moving forward like mid-May. So since May, we've slowly pulled together a committee in the past 6 to 8 weeks kind of thing.
That sounds like not that much time.
No. Typically, I like to have, if I'm going to do a community event, at least I like 12 weeks just to advertise the event. So within 8 weeks, we were advertising this first event and putting a committee together and rounding up restaurants and vendors and activities to happen for this first one. So it's been a very stressful month.
I can imagine.
Thankfully, I didn't have any weddings in July. Well, I had one just in the beginning, but the past 3 weeks, I haven't had a wedding. So it's been helpful of not delegating. I was able to focus a lot on First Friday, but it's going to streamline itself. We have important people involved, and, it'll happen. The event will be successful, and everything will just fall into place for the future ones.
So what is it? What is First Friday?
So First Friday is their efforts to revitalize the city of Poughkeepsie through art, music, and dining. It's just a way to promote what's going on in the city. So I have pop-up art galleries going on in different places. I have my local restaurants are doing dinner and drink specials, live music entertainment. We have so many county employees and city employees, and come 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, they leave. So we want to keep them in the city. So it's through like art, music, and dining. And so it's just a citywide effort. I like to tell my business employees, I'm like, this is a promotional event for you. Be involved. That's, and, it's hard for, I think, business owners, because they're like, well, you're doing it here, not here. And I'm like, so our efforts is we're going to move it throughout the city of Poughkeepsie too. It's not always going to be at Mural Square. It's, if there's an event going down, there's going to be fireworks. Mm-hmm. We're probably going to move it closer down to the Riverfront District because there's fireworks and people love fireworks, Mm-hmm. But also to keep it fun and exciting and to give every business the opportunities to thrive through it too, and to keep it exciting for the public. I mean, that's the ultimate thing, and to showcase that there is restaurants all over, and there's art galleries all over, and there's music all over, and there's entertainment, there's Bardavon, there's the walkways having a moonwalk, like there's different things going on. Mm-hmm. And to really capitalize on all of that. So for this First Friday, August 4th, we're doing it at Mural Square. And
what's Mural Square?
Mural Square is a lot of land between two buildings. And I guess it's not a park, because you can't use the word park per se, but it's a land. And there's this huge mural of the city of Poughkeepsie on the one side of one of the walls of the building. It's beautiful. I'll show you a picture of it. The Poughkeepsie Alliance took over the renovations of Mural Parks, and now they're putting it in a stage area with a canopy, benches. They're making paths and grass, and it's beautiful.
So what's the Poughkeepsie Alliance?
The Poughkeepsie Alliance, it's an organization with a lot of different business owners who kind of took this underneath them and thing. So they're finishing that up, and they announced that they're going to do a ribbon cutting on August 4th. So they're going to do that at 4:30, between 4:30 and 5, and we're going to kick off right at 5:30. So we're just kind of go piggyback off of it and follow with First Friday there. We have live dance performances with Queen City Dance. They're going to do 3 different genres of music with 3 different age groups, which will be really cool to see. We have 2 Latin performances from La La Getza. That's a Latin festival that's happening at Warriors Park on the following Sunday. So we're getting a little taste of that, and they have like a Mexican food truck coming in too for that. We have a DJ that will be our main host for it, and then we also have 2 bands from the Opaza Festival, which is happening the Saturday thing, also performing at Mural Square too. So we have Bright Dog Red. They're from Albany. They're coming down to perform. And then there's Poet Gold, and she'll be accompanied by the 845 band. So they'll all be performing right at Mural Square there. And then we also got approval to have Liberty and Garden Street blocked off, which is just right up the same block as Mural Square there. And we have 2 beer tents going on. So Poughkeepsie's 2 breweries are participating, Mill House and Blue Collar. So one will be on each side of the street, and they'll be selling beer at the event. We have some other local restaurants selling food, like Juan Murphy's, Noshi's, Main Street Pizza, My Place Pizza, Morty's. I'm forgetting a couple, I think. I'm definitely forgetting a couple off the top of my head. But, and then also we have like, we'll have games and activities going on. So like Mahoney's has a mini golf thing. So they're bringing up their mini golf. Juan Murphy's is bringing their cornhole. We'll have a giant pong game going on, Can Jam. So we want it to be very interactive and fun for people to like go grab a beer, grab a hot dog, grab some sausage, and play a game, listen to some live music. Because also on those streets of Liberty and Garden, we'll have some acoustic music going on as well. So there'll always be music, art, thing, going on. We have 2 pop-up shops that are doing art galleries right in the same block as well. And as well as the Hudson River Housing, they're painting this fence that's being placed behind the stage at Mural Square. They have a local artist who's kind of doing a mural, and they're inviting the public to kind of help paint this mural. Almost like if you think of like a paint by numbers kind of thing, but everybody's invited to pick up a paintbrush and help paint this mural.
That's really cool.
I think that's going to be awesome just to incorporate, say, hey, I was at this event and I painted that part of that fence. Like, you don't get to see that. So there's just a lot of awesome, fun, different things going on, and it's just within this block, but it incorporates what First Friday is supposed to stand for with its art, music, and dining.
That sounds really cool. So it sounds kind of like street festival-y.
A little bit, yeah. Like our theme for this first one was Main Street Fair. And we wanted to have, because it's the summertime, people are on vacation, they go to different fairs. So we are encouraging our restaurants to do make fair-like food, just to kind of have that feeling to it, and with the games and stuff too. We're not closing down Main Street, so the traffic will still be able to go through. So you'll be able to see when you're going down Main Street, like something's going on both sides, and there's activities, so you can just definitely find street parking, or the 2 parking garages are right there. They'll have free parking, so you can definitely, stop and check everything out, which is awesome. But I do like the idea of we have the street open so people can kind of just see what's going on and see that the activities and what's going on and who's involved, because, it is all about the city of Poughkeepsie. Mm-hmm. I know across from Mural Square, there's a building there, and that's getting painted. There's 3 sides to it, and they're painting murals on these buildings, and those will be finishing up on Friday as well. I think they start actually on the 27th from sunrise to sundown, and it's for the Opaza Festival. But it's happening also during First Friday. So even just seeing a building get transformed into this artwork to make it pretty is, I think people just stand there and watch it. You know what I mean? They'll just be wild. And then you'll have music and...
Cool. So what is the O Positive Festival? You're
I
not
don't know,
necessarily involved in it, but...
No, we are, First Friday is kind of kicking off of it. And from what I gathered, and I hope I'm saying this correctly and stuff, but basically it's an art music festival to help give artists health care. So they're utilizing the Underwear Factory, and they're setting up physicians and stuff will be there. So the music and musicians and the artists can go and get free healthcare. They can go be seen by a physician and those type of things. And then the local restaurants in there, like Main Street Pizza, My Pizza, the pop-up shop of the Heritage Center, they're having all live music in their shops, so people can go in and listen to the live music for these artists that are doing it. And then there's the community aspect where I know the hospital is donating a tent, and they're getting vendors for like a wellness tent. So then the community can come and check out some of these vendors and receive different services through like the healthcare. So it's all about like healthcare and artists and community kind of focused.
Yeah, I've seen the O Positive Festival in Kingston before.
Yeah, so that's the kind of mimicking. I think that just happened, or I don't know if that was in June or.
I'm not entirely sure, but it wasn't this year that I.
Okay, I think they. Yeah, I'm not sure. I know it would happen in Kingston, but it's kind of going off, piggybacking off that as well. I know the O Positive, from talking to a couple people, have traveled the country, or at least the Northeast a bit, but it's bringing it to Poughkeepsie because of, different demographics and just incorporating art and music again to it.
So so this is in like the Main Street area of Poughkeepsie, which doesn't necessarily have the best reputation. So can you tell me a little bit about that aspect of it?
And I think, the area itself isn't terrible, and it just, from the past, I think it has a bad reputation. And so I think that's also part of it, is to have these festivals in areas to show the public that it's not terrible. You know what I mean? I mean, we will have police presence, but we have to change that mindset. Yes, Poughkeepsie have a bad rep, it's like almost saying like Beacon used to be really bad. Now look at Beacon, it's beautiful, and it's turnaround. And that's the same process here too. There's definitely areas in Poughkeepsie that certain streets are probably not the best to go on, I'm sure. But this is Main Street, and there's business and there's Thrive, and there's some amazing restaurants right in that quarter. And you can't be scared to go there to go dine. The food is delicious. But no, I mean, I think it's just opening it up and showing like, hey, we are the city itself and the people behind First Friday. I mean, it's not all city officials. Like my committee is made up of people who live, work, and breathe City of Poughkeepsie. They wanted to see it revitalize and wanted to see it to grow and wanted to see its best foot forward. And so it's people in the community that are taking charge to showcase these efforts and to make this event happen, to show the public, hey, Poughkeepsie, it's a good place to be. There's so much potential, and there is. It's just getting away from that stigma of Poughkeepsie's bad at night, or whatever. Because every town has its own issues, I think.
For sure, yeah. Are you originally from Poughkeepsie?
I'm not. I was born in Pittsburgh, but I grew up in Poughkeepsie, just right outside the city. Went to Hyde Park schools, and I've always lived, though. My address has always been Poughkeepsie in a sense, so it's...
So when did you move up here?
I was 5.
Okay, so basically...
Yeah, I did all grade school, started grade school, like kindergarten up here. So, I'm pretty much born and raised here. I was just born in Pittsburgh. I left for college. I went to Penn State. If I come back home, and Poughkeepsie is home for me. The Hudson Valley, yeah.
So how have you seen Poughkeepsie change over the years?
Grown. And there's definitely a potential of seeing, like, down by the waterfront, you see things starting to be developed more so, or it's in the progress too. Different restaurants are popping up, smaller boutiques, those who have these culinary skills, they're just like, hey, there's a need for it. There's a want for it. The public wants it. We have the CI right up there, and it's great to see a lot of people stay local to it as well, to make it grow. The Hudson Valley is beautiful, and you can get a lot of local farm ingredients too to thrive in your business, or for these restaurants, I think. It's great to see restaurants where, when I was younger and I was like, oh, it's a great party scene and a thing, but then you just go in, they're still there, they're thriving, maybe the scene has changed a little bit, or just even for me, the scene's changed. It's not me bar hopping anymore. I'm actually going because they have good food and good drinks. And I'm not 21 anymore, but those businesses are lasting, and even working with these First Friday, I'm learning about these owners and their story and, you know, what they go through. And it's really cool to see their progression too, or, you know, if they're becoming, you know, innovative of how they're going to get people to come out, or, you know, what's they're making on their menu. You know, they're, even with the art, like, who ever thought that we would actually paint murals on buildings? Like, I always loved the mural at Mural Square, and I thought that was so cool. But now that we can do different murals on different buildings and just those efforts, I know the city was looking of doing a mural on the overpass going down towards the waterfront there. So if you're going towards them, there's an overpass there. They're going to do a mural in there.
That's cool.
You know,
I love things like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's just so many cool new efforts that are coming to life, and they're bringing it back around the diversity of the area, you know, and the culturals and the people. I think that's what it is. It's coming back to the Poughkeepsie, making, you know, the millennials are moving back into the city. You know, they move into cities, and, you know, they're going to make it thrive in a sense, you know, I think is what's going to happen, you know.
Cool. So I actually want to take a circle back.
Sure.
To talking about being a mom and being a business owner, because I'm not a mom, but maybe I will be. And it's just something that's been on my mind lately, is balancing that.
I actually just had a previous bride posted a similar question about how do you handle stress and time management being a mom and being an entrepreneur, or just being a working mom. It's tough. It's not always easy.
I didn't expect it to be.
It's definitely not. Definitely not. And I think with her being older, as being in a very active toddler now, it's gotten tougher. Because, you know, being an infant, it was like, oh, she sleeps half the time. You know, you can get work from home, you know. But also my business has picked up dramatically since she's been an infant too. So that has changed for me as well. I think it's how you handle yourself, you know, trying to remain calm, cool, collected. I have a great husband I can vent to. I like my beer and wine. That helps. No, but seriously, it's, you know, I have 2 calendars. I write everything down. I like lists. And then I have to put it in my phone, because I get that reminder saying, hey, you have a meeting. You're going to do a podcast in a half hour, you know. You know, it's that, but also remembering, like, you know, it's time management. You know, and I even tell my brides, like, they get stressed. I'm like, it's time management. Here's a schedule. Here's a task list. This month, let's just concentrate on this. And I try to break things down, that aspect of it. That doesn't always happen. Like, you know, First Friday is being pulled together in 6 weeks versus
ideally
my 12. Yeah. So, but, you know, it's having the support system in my family. My daughter definitely goes to preschool. And I try to use that time now that she's in preschool, and that's when I work. And when she comes home, it's family time. And then when she goes to bed, I can do more work then. You know, I'm notorious, and I'm probably not the best role model, but, like, there's times where she'll be sitting there watching Minnie, and I'm hitting my phone answering things, and she's like, oh, I want mommy's phone, you know? And I'm like, I got to learn how to separate it, and it's hard because you get so wrapped up in your work, but making time for family is huge. And I think just for your sanity too, because you don't want to miss out on opportunities and stuff. But having the support system like her, my parents, when they can take her, or just give, you know, even for an hour so I can answer emails or go to a meeting.
Yeah. I mean, like, how do you, so she goes to preschool.
She's in a 3s program now. And I doing it 3 days a week. Because I try to base it off of our schedules, you know, what he works, since he's an RN. In the fall, I already said she's going to go 5, just because I know my fall is super busy. And, you know, there's been times where I've been in a jam and I didn't have a babysitter, and I'm like, she's gone to a meeting with me. And I'm like, hi. And she's been great, but at the same time, it's not always the most professional thing to do. You know, I hope the people I'm meeting with have understood that, and they've may or have been in that situation before, or they're just thankful she was actually behaved and she wasn't trying to have a tantrum. But it happens, and yeah. I'm human, and if I when I brought her, I'm like, oh my God, I am so sorry. And I own up to my fault, but you make it work. You're a mom, you multitask it regardless. You go on little sleep, you live on coffee, But I think it's, it's remembering to take time for yourself so you don't go insane. I think it's remember what's very important to you. It's kind of like when I tell my brides, or, it's your wedding is what's important to you, and where your budget goes is what's important to you. Your photography might be the most important thing to you. So you're going to spend $5,000 on a photographer and maybe $2,000 on flowers. Where I've had a bride who said she wanted a room of flowers, and flowers are important. She spent $6,000 on a flower and only $1,200 on a photographer. It's what's important to you, and I try to bring it back to what's important to me, and delegate it that way. It's what you have to do. It's definitely tough. But I probably wouldn't have it any other way. When I was pregnant with Parker, and I was like, all right, I'm going to be the stay-at-home mom, and I'll do weddings part-time. And I'm, I can't be a stay-at-home mom. I realized that real fast. I do not know how to be a stay-at-home mom. I do not like to cook and clean. It's not for me, I was like, no, I like to work, and I like to meet people, and I like to do events. And so finding a good school for her and people I trust and having that support system with family, I think is huge, and then learning time management and learning how to delegate and realizing that you can't do everything on your own. You need to ask for help or set up the team that you can really trust to do is huge. Making it so you don't go completely insane.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. So I have a few final questions that I ask everyone.
Okay.
They're, about food and health, since that's an overarching theme in this show.
Sure.
So the first one is, how do you define healthy or health, and why is that important?
It's to each person. I've always for me and my health and what I consider healthy to myself, I've always fluctuated with, regardless if it was just my weight or what I ate. I think there has to be a healthy balance between it. Clean eat, but splurge a little on something. Have your cake too. I try to work out, and I try to do better, and I want to live a positive role model for Parker and say, live a healthier lifestyle. It doesn't have to always be 100% clean eating and you work out 7 days a week, because that's not me. Mm-hmm. But having those aspects to your life, I think, is important, and it's how you feel, So if you're like, hey, I don't like the way I am, or I don't want it is, let me take the steps to become healthier to get to where I want to go. I think it's always going to be a progress for everybody, or, you're never going to be completely satisfied until you get to that point where you're like, this is who I am, and this is fun. You have to be happy with your own skin. So finding those ways to being healthy, I guess. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, it's just to get an idea of how you think and contribute some ideas to the conversation about
health. We're doing a new workout. I'm a Beachbody coach at times, and I did it just to lose weight, the baby weight initially, and it was, we're doing the shift shop, and it's a fun workout, and it's back to kind of like clean eating. I think it kind of is similar to like a keto diet, where you're doing like more proteins and fat versus carb kind of thing, or more veggies. I think it's just figuring out that healthy lifestyle that you're happy with and making it work.
What do you see as the biggest issue facing our society as it relates to food and health?
We're lazy. We are technology sound. Everybody has their iPhone attached to them, me included. But I think there is a difference now of how many people, even kids, and it's a role model of us adults who will put a TV in front of your kid and says, hey, go outside and play. I think it's activity level, and I think it's all driven based of filters on phones, and technology is awesome. I love it. But at the same time, we all hide behind it. I can't say, a lot of my clients even, they'll text before they pick up the phone to call you with a question, and it's just, that's the environment we've become as a society, is that we are hidden behind a device. And people don't go out and exercise as much to be healthy. I think in the Hudson Valley, and I'm sure throughout the country as well, the local and farm to table aspects is becoming more of a trend, which is awesome because it's better for you. And it's probably always been there, and maybe it's just me more or less recognizing it as well too. But I think it's so easy to say, like, go pick up a meal at McDonald's, or, but even that gets expensive for a family, I'm sure, for so many people. But I think we're all just driven between the convenience of what's easier, and we lack what actually makes you a healthier society in that aspect.
Mm-hmm. And what is the most exciting thing you see going on in food and health?
I think it's the farm to table is coming back. It's all over here in the Hudson Valley, which is awesome. But I think it's making headway elsewhere as well too, where you're hearing, it's more craft breweries are popping up, wineries are popping up, and the food and things. So I think it's going back to all those, health, it's there. I don't know. My mom's a medical bill advocate, and, I know that aspect of things with health, but I think it's just people getting out there and staying healthy. You see more people, of course, in the summertime out than in the winter, but then probably the fresh air in the winter is really good for you. I think it's just, like I said, we're technology driven, and you have to get out there more. And I think that's where it's going in that direction again. People are realizing, like, you got to get healthy, get fit. At least I'd like to think so. All
right.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Come out for First Friday. I'll be there. I'll be the crazy blonde running around. But it's happening August 4th at 5:30 in the city of Poughkeepsie between Academy and Market Street.
Cool. And where can people get in touch with First Friday, and where can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, perfect. So for First Friday, we are on social media. So you can visit us on Facebook. It's First Friday Poughkeepsie. You could follow us on Instagram at First Friday PK. My name is Bianca Hendricks. My email is bianca@rsvpbyb.com.
Cool. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you. This is fun.
Thanks again to today's guest for joining me on the podcast. I hope you'll get a lot from hearing this interview, and you're able to find some tangible information and inspiration to work towards creating a healthier lifestyle, getting started in the food movement or industry, starting your business, publishing your book, or going after your creative dream, whatever it may be. And finally, thanks to you, the listeners, for tuning in once again to this episode of the Put a Fork in It podcast, the podcast that offers fresh perspectives at the intersection of food, health, business, and creativity. I look forward to sharing future episodes with you and interviewing even more interesting people. If you have any feedback or suggestions on what you'd like to hear on this show, or you'd be interested in becoming a sponsor, email me at kaylina@putaforkinitpodcast.com. Don't forget to check out the episode notes and links, and leave comments over at putaforkinitpodcast.com. You can also subscribe on your favorite podcasting app and over on YouTube. If you love this show, you can leave us a review on Facebook or iTunes, and don't forget to share it with your friends, or donate on patreon.com/putaforkinit. And of course, make it a delicious day.